Hello friends, welcome to chapter 4 of the Dialogues of A Course of Love. This chapter is challenging and exciting at the same time because it paints a picture for us of where it is we're going. So the title is New Frontiers Beyond the Body and Mind, Form and Time. So we return again to the concept of discovery because we have to return to some of these things because we're unaccustomed to thinking in this way because we've been so heavily conditioned by how we thought the world would work in the past. So discovery is more than discovery of your identity. So we may have in the past approached this kind of discovery like, oh, let me learn more about myself. Let me see more about myself. And if you look at it from a certain perspective, that's true. It continues to be true because there's nothing outside of yourself, but not your identity, not your idea of yourself as a separated individual person with this history and this timeline and these characteristics. It's discovering everything in your present moment experience. That's what discovery is. So discovering what it feels like to be me now, discovering what's here, discovering what sensations come up, discovering whatever presents itself. So verse 2 says, we are not leaving the self to explore because the self is the source and cause of exploration, as well as the source and cause of discovery. And yet, the self is far more than you have experienced yourself as in the past. So in other words, we are leaving this identity self because that's just an idea of who you are. It isn't even real. It's just an idea that you've created and manifested as being this identity of an individuated self. But what we're actually discovering is, how vast is the self anyway? What shows up for me as the self, and how big am I? How far does this go? So we're reminded the self is not separate from anything. So even though we have spent years believing ourselves to be confined for the most part to a body in a physical space, everything that comes into your experience is the self expressing and reflecting back to you. Everything. So we move in order to really get this unity. We move to the recognition of our interdependence. That it's not I'm independent over here and you're independent over there, or that's happening outside of me independently. It's actually moving to a recognition of like, wait, there's only one thing happening ever, and it's all happening within the self. So don't get freaked out by thinking that, no, this individual identity self is projecting all this stuff outward and nothing is real except me, this personal identity self. But rather the recognition that everything that is in my experience is the self. Everything. But now to actually really embody this, to really get this and see this, you have to explore and discover, is it true? We've gone way past the time when a belief system would satisfy us. That's the whole foundation of the idea of discovery, is the fact that I'm not going to take anybody's word for anything anymore. I'll listen, but it's up to me. I'm the ultimate authority. I have to look and discover, is this real? Is this true? Is this my experience? And that's what exploration is all about. So he reminds us that in order to explore, remember that you're invulnerable. If you think you're vulnerable and that you're at risk, if you find out the truth, you're not going to be able to stay open to see what's actually there. Because what discovery is about the love of truth. It's not about a belief system that will give you peace or will work for you. It's about wanting to know the truth at any cost. I just want to know what's true. That's what discovery and exploration is about. But in order to do that, you can't feel like your safety is at risk. And if you are so attached to your personal identity as an individual being that you feel threatened by discovering something else, you're not going to be able to discover and explore. And if that's the case, it's okay. It'll come in time. But just recognize that that's what's holding you back. And this is reinforced by the next concept. You will need to set aside the known in order to discover the unknown. So for me, this becomes clear when you think about scientists. If scientists go into an experiment with a hypothesis that they're trying to prove, they will usually discover proof that supports their hypothesis because they haven't set aside the known in order to discover the unknown. If, however, they decide, I'm just going to go into this experiment and find out what's true. I don't care what's true. I'm completely open to discovering what's true. I just want to know what it is. And they go in and do that discovery, they're going to get a much more legitimate result from their discovery. And the same is true of you. We have to set aside what we have always believed to be true, what we've been told to be true, what our conditioning has taught us, and look and see what is actually going on here. Again, that pursuit of the truth. That's what this is about. So he gives us 3 helpful questions that kind of help point the way to the state of mind that needs to be cultivated in order for this to happen. What if I forgot everything I thought I knew about this and looked at it in a new way? And this can be done by anybody at any level of spiritual or any other development. If we just set aside everything that we thought and look to see, okay, what's actually here now? And the next question, can I allow this to unfold as it will? To allow this to be whatever it is? So often our minds will take an experience, a happening, any sort of input, and the mind wants to categorize it and put it in the shelf with the other things that are like it. So it immediately labels. If I get up in the morning and something feels familiar, my mind is categorizing it with the other times I've gotten up in the morning and felt that way. And so the mind just puts it away and I'm done. But if I get up and I notice something and then I look and go, okay, what really is happening here? What's showing up in my experience here? Let me see. Now I'm open to explore and discover and find something new in what may be what the mind thinks of as a very mundane situation. And the third question, what would happen if I disregarded the facts and was open to this being something else? So especially in the current political climate, people have done studies to find out how all of us disregard facts. Because if the facts don't support the theory that we believe, then we don't consider the facts true. Regardless of what the source was and how they were discovered. If they don't support what I already believe, I'm not interested and I don't think they're true. So this is saying just disregard all the facts. But don't try to support a belief system. Just try to be open and see, okay, what really is coming up here? What is my experience here? Verse 6 points us another way. One of the major benefits of such questions such as these is that they can circumvent the usual thinking you would apply to these situations. Of course, that's what I was just talking about. They can circumvent the labeling of many situations as problems or crises. They can leave the way open for revelation. So when you can circumvent the mind trying to put it in a category and place it on a shelf, then it can be something else. It has the freedom to be something new. And how many of us have had times in our lives where life just feels old? Nothing's inspiring. We're not motivated to do anything. There's nothing fresh happening. That is a result of the mind putting everything on a shelf with other things that look like it, and us not actually looking and discovering what's fresh here, what's new here, what is this actually? Because really there's a potential for discovery and exciting discovery in every moment of every day that we're alive. If I'm sitting, there's the potential for discovering, what does it feel like to sit right this moment? That's really what meditation is sitting still and discovering with kind of an inner microscope what's going on in here right now without the use of the mind, just by discovering and exploring. So just to bring this point home, I decided to really put a contrast here of the old way that we used to operate in life, planning, stress and effort, seeing God as being other, something outside of me. It's all rooted in the past. Oh yes, I've been down this road before. I've had this experience before. I know what this is. That's the old way. That's the mind's way. That's the thing that keeps you from not really experiencing your full life energy. And the new way is that of receiving and revelation. Like, here I am. I'm showing up in this moment. What's here? Let me look and see. And you're open to what comes, whether that's nothing in the outside world or whether it's some happening that changes things, something that's exciting, something that's peaceful, something that's challenging, whatever it is, you're open. You show up. And the new way is cooperation with the all. So it's not being in opposition. This is really an important part of it. So our normal mode of operating as humans is that we are pretty much in opposition to most things that are happening. This shouldn't be the way it is. I should be different. This should be different. You should be different. Something that's happening is off, and I'm in opposition to it. So when we cooperate, when we're not in opposition anymore, we're cooperating with the all, and we do that through discovery, through allowing whatever is here to be here and discovering what it's about. And of course, completely open. So we come in without preconceived ideas, without a boundary that we want to place around an experience. And we're just completely open, like, okay, let's see what's here. So the lesson reminds us of the progression of ideas. I mean, obviously what's happening here for us and for apparently the human race is that an awakening of something is happening. Something has come to maturity, like a caterpillar that has outgrown its cocoon. And there's a progression. It's not learning, but it's an unfolding, I guess. And so he reminds us that first there's an awareness of unity. So this happened when you discovered, like, wait, there's this energy, this pulse that's out there, that's beyond what I thought was out there. There's the awareness of unity. And then the next projection, the acceptance of what is. And that we keep working on because, of course, we're still working within our conditioning and making it a habit, making it habitual, making it natural to dismiss the conditioning that the mind offers up. So we accept what is happening. We're not in opposition to it anymore. And then discovery, which is where we are now, a way of coming to know and be. Like, hey, I don't know what's actually here. Let me look and see. I don't know who I really am. Let's look. I want to see. I don't know what this is for. Let me look and discover what there is here. So those are the progression of the ideas. And then the last one is manifestation, which is creation of the new. Now, this can be a little trippy for those of us who have been on a spiritual path for some time, because when we hear manifestation, what happens in the mind is like, oh, great, now I'm responsible for manifesting my identity's desires, my wonderful mate, my new car, my job, my riches, whatever it is that the personal identity thinks is going to make them happy. That is not what this is talking about. What this is talking about is when you are in the state of discovering what's here right now, then you cooperate with what's here right now, and you're lending your energy to whatever is manifesting itself, and you're working in union with it. It's a cooperation with whatever it is that's showing up here. And as you drop the identity and recognize that's not who you actually are, and you are not limited to time and space and form, and you never were. It's not like you were once limited and now you've gotten better and now you're not limited. You never were limited. You're just recognizing more and more and more that you're not limited to who you once thought you were. And through that recognition, that manifestation happens as a natural consequence. It's not something you have to do or decide or have the intention or manipulate form. That's just playing the same old game. This manifestation is a natural consequence of discovery. So verse 11 tells us to expand is to open out, to spread out, to increase, to become. It is for us about bringing out what is within. So what this is talking about is the ability that we have as this amazing energy that is everything. We have this ability to localize into our own experience of a local, very small, individualized experience of what it feels like for the chair to be against my leg, to then globalize or expand, open out into all, feeling the all of the energy that's present, feeling my oneness with everything that I see and hear and experience and know, all of it, to actually recognizing my interdependence and my participation in everything, my presence in everything. And that happens through expansion. So we have this kind of like a zoom lens on a camera where we can go small and just see what it feels like for this tongue to be on these teeth. And then we can go broad and expand out and see our oneness with everything that shows up on my screen. The awareness within becomes the awareness without. So it's the awareness that moves. So my awareness stays the same. My awareness of the tongue on the teeth is the same awareness that is aware of my oneness with everything else. It's the awareness that moves. That's the zoom lens is applied. So becoming is a movement into form or manifestation. So becoming is that incredible, powerful energy that has always been us, but we didn't know it, recognizing itself while having the experience of form. So he goes on to say, you already are manifest in form. But this idea, and you must admit, we've all had this impulse, more, 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 I want to be more, I want to have more, I want to experience more. There's been this thing that hasn't been satisfied. And that's that seed of dissatisfaction, like, wait, there's more for me, I know there is. This idea signifies that you're not yet whole, not fully birthed. And it's the like, I call it the divine impulse that comes in and pulls you forward and expands you and makes you reach. If you were perfectly happy, you wouldn't explore anything. And that's because you still need to become fully who you are on one level. Like, you've always been who you are. You've never not been that one energy. But this bringing it into the experience of form thing, this is new. This is the thing that is being created at this time, to still have this access to this individualized local experience, while now remembering, realizing, and re-experiencing the big, huge, expansive experience, and doing all of that in cooperation. Verse 13, it is awareness, acceptance, and discovery of what is beyond form that allows the beginning of the transformation of what is beyond form into expression in form. So this is the creation discovery thing that he's pointing to. It's like, while we're in form, we accept and discover and put our awareness on what's actually true and what's actually big, then that experience transforms the experience of that which is local, which is individualized. So in the past, when we had an individualized experience, we forgot the big experience. And now this movement that's happening is to still have the individualized experience while reconnecting, remembering the big, expansive experience, and bringing that back into the individualized experience. That hasn't happened on a big scale before. So what is discovered in a state of unity? You are aware of the state of unity. That's what we talked about before. You're aware of the fact that there's some kind of connection with everything. And then you discover in a state of unity. So you enter like that energy field. Because when you stop being opposed to what is, and you're in this open state, it puts you in this receptive energy field that is part, it's part of the movement of the one, because that's total potential, total creation. And then you express what you've discovered. So because you're in form, your form starts to do the things that express the movement within you. And then a new reality is created through relationship. This doesn't mean relationship with other people. Relationship, again, love, unity, God. It means you're joining. It's created through your oneness, your connection with everything. And by remaining connected with everything while you're having this localized experience, you have a new reality. It's not necessarily that the trees aren't going to be green anymore. They're going to be blue, because we all know that blue is a better color for a tree. It's not that new reality. The reality that's new is your experience. What your reality is like, what life is like through your window. Verse 15, this new reality begins with awareness of what is beyond body and mind, form and time. It proceeds to this awareness being accepted, adopted as an ability, and then to becoming your new identity. It proceeds to the transformation we've spoken of, to becoming the elevated self of form. And that's a great summary for everything that we just talked about. So being whole is being present as all you are. And what we're practicing, again, is remembering all that we are while having a localized experience. And we end this review with verse 17. Becoming the elevated self of form is becoming whole, and will be the way in which source and cause transform body and mind, form and time. So the elevated self of form is not a super great identity, a souped up, new and improved personal self. That's not what the elevated self of form is. The elevated self of form is whole. It's the energy field of that pure potential being channeled through the filter of a personal experience. So that's what's causing your transformation. It's exciting. It's inevitable, by the way. It's not something you have to reach for. It is your future. It is your present. It's something that you can't avoid. You're on a trajectory now, and you don't have to worry about making it happen. All of these chapters, all of this information, this is just updated conditioning to get the mind to understand what's happening so that we can get full cooperation to your transformation. So don't think like, oh my gosh, I don't have it yet. Don't go there, because the ego, the personal identity, is never going to get it, but there's something in you that will and has remembered who it actually is, and it's very exciting. And so allow that divine impulse to carry you forward. So thanks for joining me, and I will be happy to see you in chapter 14.